When people try to debate those of us who believe the law is holy, just, and good, as it says in Romans 7, verse 12, people will deflect, and deflect. They'll bring up, for example, 1 Timothy 1, verse 9, that says, the law is not made for a righteous man, but for the lawless and disobedient, for the ungodly and for sinners. Yeah, it's made for the lawless because they're breaking the law. It's made for sinners, and sin is a transgression of the law, 1 John 3, verse 4. It's made for sinners because they're breaking the law. It's not made for the righteous because they're already keeping it. So that's a deflection. They also bring up the Jerusalem conference in Acts 15, where it says in verse 20 that we should abstain from things polluted by idols, from sexual immorality, from things strangled, and from blood. And they say those are the only commands we have to keep. We could break the Sabbath, for example. Well, there's nothing in those 4 commands about honoring your mother and father. Does it mean we're free to dishonor them? There's nothing in there about not taking God's name in vain. Does that mean we're free to take his name in vain? There's nothing here about not killing. Does it mean we're free to go murder people? Of course not. It's a deflection. Just because we're under grace, does that mean we could sin, that grace may abound? Paul answered that in Romans 6, verses 1 through 2, and verse 15. God forbid. The law shows us what sin is so we can avoid it. And if you ever want to get these deflectors to prove they're deflectors, if you want to ask them a question they will not answer, ask them if Christians are allowed to have other gods besides the true God. Are Christians allowed to make idols? Are Christians allowed to take God's name in vain? Are Christians allowed to dishonor their parents, murder, commit adultery, steal, lie, or covet? They won't answer that because they know if they answer Christians are allowed to do that, it's ludicrous. They also know if they answer no, Christians are not supposed to do that, then they're caught in a bind, because then that applies to the 4th command as well. And that's the command they won't keep. So next time someone tries deflecting, ask them if Christians still have to keep commands 1 through 3 and 5 through 10. As I said, they can't answer that we could break those commands because that's ludicrous. And if they answer that we're supposed to keep those commands, then they're in a bit of a dilemma because that applies to the 4th command as well. Peace all, stay safe, bye-bye.